Welcome to Books in the Freezer, a podcast dedicated to the deliciously disturbing world of horror fiction. Today, I am joined by Annette, friend of the show, friend of mine, and Norwegian, to talk about Nordic horror. Oh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
I have too. I have kind of been wanting to do something like this. And I think the only thing that was keeping me back was that I wanted to talk someone from the area who would
Yeah,
have cultural insight
right.
into
That
this.
makes sense.
So,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Absolutely.
because I've noticed even recently there's been a lot of horror coming out of that area, that part of the world.
Uh, yeah, I think so because I think it might have something to do with the general boom that's been happening,
Hmm.
especially in the United States. I think that's opened up for Nordic authors to also, throw their hat in the ring. I think there's a much bigger market just globally for horror, and that's good
Hmm.
news for all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, at least for them to, I guess, embrace the genre fully. Because I feel like there's kind of always been darker stories from that part of the world. Like people love
Oh,
Nordic noir and its reputation is
mhm.
that it is like hardcore. Like if you're like a so-so crime thriller fan, like Nordic noir is
Yeah,
dark.
oh, it's really dark. I mean, I want to just you know be honest about the fact that I haven't read many or any Nordic horror thrillers, but I have seen some TV shows, some films, and
Yeah.
it is really dark. I mean, it's when you think about it, it's basically its own like horror subgenre because it's I mean they deal with human monsters, like really horrifying acts and like, dark stuff. So yeah, I agree.
Interesting. I think something that gets brought up and people think is interesting is that kind of the Nordic countries tend to rank fairly high on the happiness scale. And they also tend to produce such dark content.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I've been giving this some thought for making this episode, and I think honestly that the fact that we have these really dark, um, cold, pretty much depressing winters. And then the other end of that scale, we have these super bright summers where you can hardly sleep at night because it's really really bright out. I think there's this duality in that. There's because I mean during winter, um, it gets gradually darker and darker, and it depends, of course, on where you live, like how far north you live. If you live above the Arctic Circle, it's gonna get I mean, you don't see the sun. The sky might get like this dark bluish color, maybe, uh, but you don't see the sun. Maybe weeks over Christmas, and that's pretty intense. Where I live, we get maybe 4 hours of sunlight during that time,
Wow.
and when you flip that on its head, we get 4 hours of semi-darkness during the winter at night. So I mean, there's this. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I haven't thought about that, but you have this like you know peaceful, um, socially stable, safe, happy people, and then there's a lot of dark stuff going out as well. I think that has a lot to do maybe with mm, that duality. And
I could see that living in
yeah,
those extremes, those
yeah,
polar
absolutely. I
polar
mean,
environments.
no one gets their clothes off faster than Nordic people when you get a tad of sunshine in the spring. You've been in this hibernation. I mean, you've been. It does feel like a hibernation. You go into this like I guess survival mode,
Hmm.
and then you do your best to do the hygge thing and blankets and light some candles, and then when summer comes, it's like you know
Everyone's an outdoors person.
yes, absolutely. Or yeah,
That is interesting. So yeah, that definitely leads into like why there's a love for horror. And I think one of the things we talked about earlier was when I did the holiday episode and I talked about mummers and you
Oh,
reached out and talked about that over there.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we call it julebok. I think that's a phenomenon across a few of the Nordic countries, especially Norway and Sweden. I know have done this, but so the concept is that you dress up, you go to people's stores, you sing a bit, entertain them, sing some carols maybe, and then they give you candy. At least that was the thing when I was growing up. Not a lot of people did it back then either, but cute kids, dressing up, singing, everything is very cute and wholesome. But if you go back and look at these pictures from when maybe like 100 years ago, they were terrifying. People with pillowcases on their heads and painting and it's really disturbing. I mean,
You'll
that
have to send some of those.
yeah, I mean it's the same kind of thing. Like if you Google the thing you were talking about, the mummers from was in Nova Scotia,
Yeah, it
that
was somewhere
area.
in yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was in an anthology. It was Sean and McGuire's story. Yeah, I think it was.
Oh yeah,
Hark the Herald
yes,
Angels Scream. It was the opening story.
yes, I read that too. That was terrifying. Oh yeah, so nowadays, or at least when I was a kid, it was kids singing for candy, but back then it was grown-ups singing for liquor. That's that's weird.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
hardcore. I think in the story it was absinthe too, which is like
Oof.
hardcore.
Wow. Like, yeah, because everyone keeps a bowl of absinthe. I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't?
I mean, it gets the job done, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, I guess.
Maybe it's also a culture with a lot of like fairy tales and mythology and rich stories, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we kind of have the same thing as in Germany, the Brothers Grimm collected
Hmm.
stories. I'm sure in the other Nordic countries they have maybe something similar, but in Norway it was these two guys, Asbjørnsen and Mo, who went around and collected stories, and they are most of them are pretty dark. I mean, it's this is grim stuff. So what you need to know about, especially, and again, I'm speaking particularly as a Norwegian here because I that's kind of the culture I know the most about in the Nordic countries. But um, Norwegian folklore is a big mix of things left over from the Norse mythology and all these creatures like fairies, trolls, gnomes, and a bunch of others. They kind of represent this nature, chaos, nature, the power of nature, all of that. And then you have Christianity, and the two of them kind of intercept in the folklore of this country. And um, there's so many stories where like these creatures they tempt people, whether you're a man or a woman, stay away from the lake because there's a monster living at the bottom of it and it will drag you down. Or if you're a man, you know look out for Huldra, who is this pretty kind of troll-like creature who will um ensnare you. And then you have Christianity, which is of course made into the um, saving power, so to speak, against these natural forces. And they are a part, I mean, all these creatures and forces, they're a part of Norwegian fairy tales, Scandinavian fairy tales. Um, but you also get like fairy tales about people who encountered the devil. The devil playing a fiddle, and then looking down, you can see he has these split hoofs. So that's how you can tell it's the devil. And so there's this mixture of the old
Yeah.
and I guess anew in
Yeah.
Christianity. Um, I can tell you a few examples of really messed up fairy tales.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, so there is one called in Norwegian. It is called "Kjerringa mot strømmen." It's sort of like the old woman or the hag against the current, and it's about a man and a woman. This man cannot stand his wife because she is very contrarian, disagrees with everything he says. So he kills her and he throws her in the river. And he goes back home. He's like, oh, I'm rid of her, thank God. But then he realizes maybe I should give her a proper burial. So he goes back to the river, goes down stream to get her body. But she's not there. He can't find her. Where is she? And it turns out she has floated upstream because she's such a contrarian woman. And this is the kind of stuff that, I was told this story when I was a kid. This is messed up.
It's kind of funny though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like, I am not floating downstream.
Even in death.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
the
So that's one of them.
I love that. I know in my conversation with Jonas about, I think it was your question, you had
Yeah,
asked
it was.
about Norwegian history as an influence on his books, and he brought up World War II. So do you see that a lot in the media, in like the books and stuff, things about the war?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, in the broader media, it's especially movies, like taking movies. Um, there's been made so many movies based on things that happened during the Second World War. Maybe like the last 25 years, there's been so many. So out of from what I know about the Nordic countries during the Second World War, Norway and Denmark were both occupied by Nazi forces. They were there for 5 years. This made a really big impression. I mean, on people, on I can speak as a Norwegian, on the nation itself. And after the war, this sense of having persevered and survived this was a big part of, the national zeitgeist going forward. And what you see in most movies that are made today from that time, it's almost always centered around the resistance, people who, you know, fought hard in one way or another to overcome this. Um, and I'm looking at when I was trying to get a list together of Nordic horror literature, what I did see was many middle grade stories. Yeah, dealt with the Second World War. Like I passed a book on display at my local library. I think I sent you a photo of this, and you could tell the front of the book is like this super zoomed in photo of a Nazi officer. And there's this. So I mean, I didn't read the cover of the book, but I mean, it's just an example that the war is used as, background for a lot of stories that are being told. That being said, it has been 80 years since the end of the war, so um, it's not a big part of like everyday life thinking about what happened back then, but it is definitely, made its mark. And if you look
Yeah, I'm
around,
sure.
you'll see traces of it. So it makes a lot of sense to me that um, all these sort of inherited experiences make their way into movies, TV, books.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask because I'm sure people are going, I'm sure some people know, but I'm sure some listeners will want clarification on what I guess counts under Nordic versus Scandinavian.
Yes. So Scandinavia is Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and the Nordic countries. That is Scandinavia as well as Finland and Iceland.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Nordic countries is uh, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland.
Okay. Well, should we talk about some Nordic horror movies?
Yes.
It's one of my picks for a book, but I think probably one of the most famous Swedish horror movies is the film adaptation for Let the Right One In.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think I saw, I don't know if it was Rue Morgue or Fangoria posted that it was the anniversary week of it premiering at a film festival this week.
Oh yeah. How old is it? 10? 7?
Oh, I want to say I'm going to say 2007, but I'm not
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah. Is it similar? Can I ask? Is it similar? It's it's the same. I guess it's the same spot as the book does.
Yes, I would say it's very close. I would say the book has some darker elements. Ellie's familiar. The
Mhm.
old man has a lot of um scenes that were not included, and it's like
Right.
I haven't seen the movie in a bit, so it is hinted that he is a pedophile child predator, but
Hmm.
there is the book goes into that a little bit more, so it
Okay.
is a fair bit darker.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
And then you sent me the trailer for Handling the Undead. Is that out yet?
Yes. Well, it has. I think it was. I think it premiered at Sundance on the 26th of January,
Okay.
and it's doing like the festival circuit.
Ooh, it looks really good.
Oh, it looks so good, and it's been getting really good reviews actually.
Ooh.
Following the filmmakers on Instagram.
I'll have to try to read it before
Mm.
it comes out because that's another adaptation of his. And what was the pronunciation for his last name? Because I've been
Oh, it's John Ajvide Lindqvist.
Jon Ajvide Lindqvist.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sure John is fine as well. That's
I've
not
been
the
saying
pronunciation.
Joe Nesbo, and I know that that's not
Oh,
quite how it's pronounced.
right, that's you.
Ooh, okay.
You. Yeah,
So yeah, I'll have to try to read Handling the Undead. I think
yeah.
I'm. Have you read anything else by him?
I know that was my first. I mean, that was a gut punch. That was my first book. I'll talk about it later, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, I'm really looking forward to the adaptation. I think it's going to be very, very good.
Yeah, because it looks like a zombie story, but
Hmm.
it looks emotionally devastating, which I love.
Yes, same. Oh man, slow, devastating stories.
Yeah.
That's I love it.
A movie I saw mentioned a lot last year was Speak No Evil. I know that made its rounds on Shudder, just like a
Hmm.
Danish horror movie. And you know what? It is effective.
Hmm.
Um, I was screaming at the screen. I just, it made me feel a lot of things because these people get themselves into situations because they just don't want to be rude. And I'm like,
Right.
be rude,
Yeah,
survive.
I think it's like it's difficult to sort of see yourself from the outside, if you know what I mean. But I mean to kind of understand the dynamics of your culture. But yes, um, not being verbal about your needs, I think, is a big thing in some of the Nordic countries. It's very much like don't be a burden.
Yeah.
Don't make a thing out of it. Don't, if you're uncomfortable, don't show it. Don't, yeah. So
Hmm.
that sounds about right.
It was just a movie that made me feel a lot. So I could see why people talked about it because I'm like, yeah, you're going to be feeling something by the end of it.
Irritation, I guess.
Devastation, irritation. It's just like a mix of like, just be. Um, I know that Innocence is big, but I didn't get around to watching it before this episode, but I heard really good things.
Yeah, no, me neither. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to see it either, but looks good. Creepy kids with powers, isn't that the thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of what I got.
yeah. Mhm.
The Ritual. It's another
Yes.
big Netflix one. That was such a good movie too. I still have not read the book.
No, I have. That was really good. I went into it. I watched it for the first time a couple of years back, but I don't think I knew what I was getting into. I think for me the scariest bit in the beginning was the guy who, and this isn't like a spoiler or anything, but it's kind of what sets up the whole story. They're on a trip, on a hiking trip in Sweden, and this one guy hurts his leg, and they decide to take a shortcut through the dark Swedish woods, which sounds like a great idea.
No,
And
yeah.
he, my goodness, this man with this swollen, hurt knee trying to get through the undergrowth. Oh, that is terrifying to me. And that's not even getting into like what the thing is about this story. So yeah.
There's so many things. Well, it's also like it's just the three of them, right? It used to be four, and then
Oh
one of
yeah.
them died in a convenience store, and so one of
Yeah.
them has like survivor's guilt, and then the other two maybe kind
Absolutely.
of blame,
Yeah.
the other guy for not doing anything. So it's like
Mhm.
this thing hanging over all of them. And this was something they're doing because it was what he wanted. So they're kind of doing this like in remembrance of him,
Mhm.
and just their personalities clashing. It's such good survival horror. It's such
So
good
good.
grief horror.
Yes.
And then that's not even getting to like they get to a cabin and then it gets like weird.
Yes.
Like I remember watching it thinking like, "Oh, it's going to be just like survival horror
Mm,
things." And I'm like, "Oh, this took a turn. This is now extra dark."
yes. Yeah. Oh man. Oof.
Yeah. And then one I watched a few years ago on Shudder was Lake Bodom, which I believe is Finnish.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. This was one of those movies where I like how they use the Finnish forests and like wilderness
Mhm.
as the spooky element. Um, and it was absolutely a movie where I thought to myself, like, okay, this is very, you know, it's a straightforward type slasher, which is fine, but I didn't feel like it did anything new. And then the first third mark hits, and it did something new. And I thought that was pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it has like that premise of like, you know, so many years ago at this camping spot, like teenagers were murdered, which I guess was based on a real story, a real thing that happened.
Yes, that's
It
so
says
in the
here
beginning.
it's inspired by, but not based on, the Lake Boda murders that happened in 1960 in Espoo, Finland.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's spooky. I wasn't sure if that was just like a device in the beginning or if it was actually true. So I wanted to mention this one title. It's a Danish movie. It's called When Animals Dream. It's a new take on the werewolf trope set to a small community in Denmark. It kind of mixes in these, the idea of men controlling women. Um, yeah, I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to spoil anything, but I recommend it.
I'll have to check that out. I think we got to mention Midsummer,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I love that it is just daylight horror. It's
Yeah.
that summer horror where you say there's hardly any night.
Mm,
So
yeah.
every all these awful things that are happening in just these bright, beautiful like
Mm. Yeah.
backdrops,
Yeah.
which we always associate with safety.
Absolutely. Yes. Being invited into this, commune and, food, a warm bed, but there's other stuff happening as well.
I also had a lot of fun with Troll Hunter because
Mm-hmm.
I do love a found footage, and found footage creature is not one you see often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I like how it goes back to like these old fairy tales because trolls feature heavily in Norwegian fairy tales. and I just like how they made it into almost this kind of procedural action thing where they follow this troll on a rampage from the Norwegian mountains down to the capital. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like a lot of Nordic stories that I read or that I encounter do have some type of a procedural element to them in some
Yeah,
way. Even
yeah,
in, I believe in Let the Right One In, like there is also like a someone looking into a string of murders that is
yeah,
happening.
yeah, absolutely. Um, I think maybe just the procedural in itself is like a really good vehicle to tell story. I mean, for the most part, you can tell both the story, but also the story of the investigator. You know, yeah, I think, but also the fact that you know Nordic noir crime has been such a big thing for
Yeah.
a long time, like since the 90s, is what I from what I know, that's sort of when it became a thing. So I think that's so established that when you go into creating something like horror or horror adjacent, it's kind of this, you know, it's a predictable, uh, safe in the sense that it seems familiar to the viewer or the reader, but you can do so much with it. So I think that has a
Yeah.
lot to do with it. So I watched the Icelandic film Lamb the other day, which I really liked. It is beautifully shot. Like the Icelandic nature is just breathtaking. Um, it follows a couple who live on a sheep farm, and one day one of their sheep gives birth to a half human, half sheep um, baby.
I
Yeah,
can't
and
see
that.
my face right now. Just shock.
So what they do is that they adopt this baby to raise her as their own daughter. And the story in itself is, I thought the story was good, the acting was great, but I could not decide whether I thought the baby, the hybrid baby, was very cute or just super creepy. Because you can tell that she's played by a actual human child, maybe a toddler, maybe 3 years old. There's this she's very cute. The way she walks around, the little toddlers and make these little sounds. But she has a lamb's head, CGI lamb's head, and she has one human hand. She has a little lamb's leg for the other hand. Oh, I mean, just thinking about it just gives me chills. I could not. Yeah, you see
I'm
her
looking I'm
face.
looking up pictures right now. I'm like looking up pictures.
Oof. I really struggle. I was so torn. She was very cute, and the CGI face, if you can say it acted well, it really did. But it was an experience.
Yeah. Oh my god.
This episode is brought to you by Libro FM. Libro FM is the first and only company which lets you purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore. You can pick from more than 150,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company out there. You know the name. But you'll be part of a different story, one that supports community. If you're new to audiobooks, they're the perfect way to get more books into your busy life. Listen during your commute, while doing chores, walking the dog, or just relaxing at home. All you need is a smartphone and the free Libro FM app. If you already love audiobooks and don't know what to listen to next, check out recommendations and curated lists from people who know audiobooks best. Booksellers. And us. We also have a playlist on there full of books that have been recommended on this podcast. Books in the Freezer special offer. You get 2 audiobooks for the price of one, just $14.99, with your first month of membership using code FreezerBook. This offer is valid for new members in Canada and the United States. Thank you, Libro FM, for supporting the show.
All right, well, should we get to some books?
Yes, please.
Okay. I am going to bring up one of my favorites. I think it's been a while since I've mentioned it as a pick. But when I started the podcast in the early days, I was told that I brought this book up too much. But you know what? It has been a few years.
It
So
has.
we are talking about Let the Right One In by Jan Ayurveda Lindqvist.
Yes.
Yes, I did like it. This is about a boy named Oscar who is severely bullied. And I think of all the movies and books I've seen, the bullying in this is like
Mm,
next level
it's
bullying. Like it
awful.
is severe
Mm,
bullying.
yeah.
Um, and he makes friends with a reclusive child that also lives in his apartment complex named Ellie, who kind of only seems to come out at night. I would say that is the main thread of the story that we are following. In the background, there is a string of murders where there's just like corpses being found with no blood. Those scenes, there's also like this is a I'm gonna say right now, this is a freezer book. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are so many scenes that have stayed with me from this story, and I think the the murders and the bloodletting
Oh, yeah.
from these bodies, they are described. um and Ellie being this child vampire who is this friend to Oscar, but then you see what they're capable of is a lot. And I mean, there's, like I said, the main thread is Oscar and Ellie. There's also like the kids that are bullying him. There's also like a police officer that's looking into this murders. There's like a group of friends who get affected by Ellie. There's Ellie's familiar. There's Oscar's relationship with, you know, his divorced parents. Like there's so many threads and they all come together, and I think almost all of them just have some emotional devastation
Yeah.
on all fronts, on all of those threads.
Yeah.
It's just such a masterful story.
Yes. Yeah. Like I mean, I don't think I mentioned it, but I haven't read this book, but I have, like we talked about, seen the movie, and it's just, if it's anything like the movie, I mean, you know.
It's a pretty close adaptation. I haven't done, like, I think when I watched the movie, it had been a year or two since I read the book, but I felt like it hit like the main
Yeah.
points. You get everything, and that movie is beautifully
Mm,
shot. And I
mm.
think my one of my favorite shots is towards the end in the pool, like just masterful cinematography. People that have seen the movie will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's really well done. Yeah.
So that is my first pick. That is Let the Right One In by Jan Ayvida Lindqvist.
Hmm. So my first pick is a short story collection called Swedish Cults by Anders Fager. Um, this collection consists of interconnected short stories. Um, it's one of those where I'm gonna read what it says on Goodreads just to summarize the stories, because I don't want to like get into it, because it'll, might ruin the experience for someone listening. But it's Lovecraftian. It's set to Sweden and also a little bit of Norway. I thought it was very, very well written. It was, uncomfortable, frightening, interesting. Um, there's a lot of gore. If you read the first story and you think, okay, this is for me, then you know what you're in for. But that first story was like, oof. So, and there's also a lot of, I want to mention, there's a lot of rough sexual situations, sort of unhealthy power dynamics. So I just want to, say that check trigger warnings if you feel you need to do that. So, a very short description of a few of the stories is this: forget everything you think you know about Sweden. In Anders Fager's stories, Sweden is revealed as a place where dark and unimaginable things happen, where deep in the woods, bloody sacrifices are made to ancient and monstrous deities, where two young people's road trip to visit their grandmother takes a turn for the bizarre and nightmarish, where a woman's comfortable middle class life is suddenly upended when her boyfriend develops a mysterious illness that leaves him with a constant erection and speaking in strange tongues. Uh, yeah. Where an avant garde artist discovers the veil that separates Stockholm from the shadowy city of Arcosa. This, I really liked it, but it had a couple of very disturbing scenes and kind of threads throughout. So I am going to rate this as Fridge, and that is Swedish Cults by Anders Fager. Yeah, yeah, this really works. I didn't realize that they would be, but it really, really worked. Yeah.
Sounds good. I love interconnected short stories. Okay, my next pick is a book that came out last year. It is The Night House by Hugh Nesbo. And this is a tough story to talk about because it is so multi layered. So I will talk about the first layer of this story, where we're following a boy who, in the wake of his parents' death, has been sent to live with his grandparents in an insular town called Ballantine. He earns kind of a reputation as an outcast, and you see he has a very prickly personality, and he is hanging out with this boy, and they see a phone booth, and they decide to go like make prank phone calls, and he eggs the boy on, and the boy goes in there and picks a name out of the phone book and makes a prank phone call, and he's watching the boy make this call, and he watches as that boy is like almost like liquefied like into blood and sucked into the phone. I'm like, how what do you even do? Like, what is the protocol after you see something like that? And so, now there's this
Yeah.
missing boy. The police are questioning him, and obviously no one is believing this he got sucked into the phone.
Mm.
I'm sorry story. Um, he's an outsider. He is a kid already that has this reputation, and now he's the last person to have seen this boy alive. And then another boy goes missing, and again, it's a weird circumstance. And he is also like
Yeah.
the last person to see him alive. And that is like the first few chapters. And then it's like another layer to the story, and it's like 10 years later. Like, it's just, I can't get into too much because it just is one you have to like go in and read. But this was the book that he came on the podcast, that Jon Nesbo came on the podcast to talk about. And it is his first novel that is advertised as a like horror story, that it's not noir. It is like has supernatural elements. Like, we are playing like this is horror, which was really interesting. I would say this is a Fridge. There was just a lot of scenes that were like, what is happening in this story right now? So that is The Night House by you, Nesbo.
So my next pick, my second pick is Paradise Rot by Jenny Wahl. Um, this, I think this book is a little hard for me to explain, but it is a gothic, slow pace, kind of fever
Ooh.
dreamish type story. I liked it a lot. It is only, I think, 120 pages. It's very short, but I really liked it. The story follows a young Norwegian woman named Jo. She is an exchange student. It's never stated, but I think it might be Australia. Jo has this type of sensitivity sort of to the world, this particular way of reading her surroundings, processing her surroundings. Um, she moves in to an apartment with another young woman named Carol, and this apartment used to be a brewery. Um, and throughout the story, there is this blossoming attraction between the two women, and the sense of the fever dream just gets bigger and bigger. The house itself starts living its own life. Things start growing, things start rotting. It's very gothic in that sense.
Yeah.
Um, there's also this like blurring lines between dreams and wakefulness. You know, what's real, what's not real. Sort of the sense of, you know, loss of identity, loss of reality. I really liked it. I would definitely rate this as room temperature. But for all of that, it was just an experience. I very much recommend it. So that is Paradise Rock by Yenneval.
Ugh, I gotta check that out. I was telling you earlier, I have her book, Girls Against God, on my
Yeah.
shelf that I've heard
Mhm.
good stuff about. And you read that one too, right?
No, I haven't
Oh,
actually. I started it on audio, but it wasn't, you know, I put it aside, maybe later. It's a very it was I think it's a very different book to just a few chapters that I read of Girls Against God. It was very different. It's more of sort of artistic experimental
hmm.
type book. Which apparently works because I hear good things about it. But yeah, I just put it aside for now.
Okay. And I did not mention on my books, but Let the Right One In is Swedish and The Night House is Norwegian. So my last pick is Icelandic, and it is I Remember You by Yrsa Sigurðardóttir. This is a ghost story, which I really enjoyed. Another story where like the setup, I'm just looking at these characters like, what are you doing? In what world is this a good idea? But it's these three friends plan to renovate this house, and they buy this house on this island where people go to vacation, and it's run down. And they go there at the beginning of winter when nobody's there. I'm like, that seems like the worst time to renovate a house, and like literally no one is on the island. Like they are on the island alone. And the book opens up with like someone on a boat dropping them off, you know, explaining like you understand like nobody is here, like it's not too late to turn around. I'll take you back. It's not a problem. And they're like, "Oh no, like we've got it. We've got some food rations." You know, he's talking about how like how did you even buy a house? Like the houses here are usually passed down generationally. It's really not something that houses like this go on the market a lot. Like I'm just very curious about these circumstances. And they're like, "Oh, we bought that house up there. I think it was a priest's house." And he's like, "What makes you say that?" He's like, "Cuz there's crosses
Oh,
everywhere." And he's like, "Oh, that
oh,
was not a priest's house." And oh, that house? You know what? I'm gonna go. You guys good? I'm
oh
leaving.
my.
Which is the setup for this story. That is like they go there, and sure enough, there's like a cemetery there. There is crosses everywhere. Like the dynamic between the three friends starts breaking down. Like there's no cell service where they're at. They have to hike up to like a mountain to get like any cell service at all. Like in what world was this a good idea? Like
Mhm.
it's just one of those where I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And of course, like unexplicable things start happening. They hear things that aren't there, like doors are left open. Like it's just like, you know, ghostly happenings. That is one side of the story. The other narrative is a police officer who is actually he's a medical examiner, but he is looking into trigger warning for suicide, but an old lady hung herself in a church in a town where she doesn't live, and she had like
Mm.
a weird list. And nothing about this makes sense. You know, he's like interviewing the family. They're like, this just seems extremely out of character for her. And, you know, she didn't even live in this town. Like, it seems odd that she would drive to a separate town to a church she did not attend and do this. And that
Mm-hmm.
is like just the beginning of the weirdness there as he looks into it. And then you find out that he had a son that went missing, and maybe this somehow ties into that.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow it was twisty.
Yeah. How long is it?
Uh, 391
Okay.
pages.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
little under 400. And it did have a movie adaptation, which I did not bring up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere.
I have
Yeah.
not watched the movie. Probably should have
Yeah.
mentioned that up top in the movies, but I literally just thought of that right now. I'm like, you know what? It does have a movie.
I mean, just seeing all those crosses, it might be a hint to not go into that building. You would think that people took that as a hint, but
Yeah.
I guess not.
I feel like we don't see like ghost stories often, and this was advertised as like, I remember you, a ghost story. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And also had a procedural angle. We always have to have.
Yeah. Yes. No, I agree. Like this actually just, stating this is this is actually a ghost story. I kind of like that. There's this charming element to it, There's this book, you know what you're getting into, and yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Also, we didn't bring up, you said your copy of Let the Right One In is shelved as a crime thriller.
Yes, it is. It says in the top right corner, it says crime thriller of the year or something like that, and nowhere does it say that this is a horror story. I mean, there are crime elements, of course,
Yeah,
but
a little
I
bit.
mean, there's a vampire. Yeah, a little bit. There's a vampire in it.
Yeah.
That's horror. Yeah.
I don't know. Like my grandma loves a crime thriller, and I'm telling you, if my grandmother picked up Let the Right One In, she would be furious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people, get
What is
surprised.
this?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't sign up for a, 12-year-old vampire or whatever. No, but I honestly think that because the crime thrillers are so huge in the Nordic countries, I think that as a writer, you might get a bigger audience.
Yeah, that's.
Basically, if you have a little bit of procedural in your
Hmm.
story, you can get a huge audience by labeling it as crime thriller.
Yeah,
So I get that, but I would
casts a wider
love
net.
it does. Yeah. Okay, so my third pick is Handling the Undead by Jon Ajvide Lindqvist. This book broke my heart, to be honest.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my goodness. This is the first and only book that I've read by him. And uh so the story follows three groups of people during this heat wave in Stockholm in Sweden. Um and something happens that causes the recently dead to come back in their bodies, in their dead bodies. Um it is a new take on the zombie trope, and I really like what this did. Um, they're not the typical type zombies. They don't, go for the brain. They don't run. They're not fast zombies. They're not slow zombies. They're just, this is grief horror, and it is. They are a vehicle to explore grief and loss and love, and just being able to let go when you lose someone.
Yeah.
Um, it's just, I really, really like this. It just ripped my heart out. It's incredibly well written. it has this sort of, I don't know how you found it when you read Let the Right One In, but he has this way of writing these almost in this sweet, matter of factly way, these horrible things, like
Yeah.
just heartbreaking, horrible things. And he just states them like, this is what it is to lose someone. This is how it feels. This is what happens. And these everyday mundane things that just makes it even more painful.
Yeah.
Uh, and so for me, um, it was, I felt so many things reading this book. I felt, you know, it just hit me when he described all these different things that are just, you know, universal. But still, it might be something you yourself haven't experienced, but just reading about it was just so heartbreaking. Like there is this scene pretty early on in the book where a man is remembering back to his 6-year-old grandson's funeral,
Mm.
and he is like he's thinking back on his grandson in the coffin wearing his favorite pajamas, and I burst into tears.
Yeah.
It was so painful. I mean, he just, this is what I like about this writer, this book, is that he is brave enough to look at the most terrifying things. Because I mean, loss,
Yeah.
losing someone, losing a child, that is brutal. And he takes it out, he looks at it, tells a story of it, and it's incredibly well done. On the other side of that, there are the things that I found very disturbing is the fact that, you know, there are some things in life that's just a fact. Like when someone's dead, they don't return. That's something we all live with.
Yeah.
But this, see, like reading about these dead people sitting back up and just with like these milky eyes starting to talk and this like weird voice that shouldn't be there. I mean, that was deeply disturbing.
Yeah.
And I felt he did that very, very well. It was a great book. I very much recommend it. And I was thinking that I wanted to put it in room temperature, but but I mean, these moments that either dealt with just crushing grief, and on the other side, animated dead. Both of those things were written so well and made me feel, you know, it hit something in me that those moments to me were freezer worthy.
Yeah.
So I'm meeting in the middle. So I am rating this a fridge book.
Okay. Well, that's good to know going in that my
Yeah.
heart's going to be ripped out.
Oh, so much, man.
I kind of got a little bit of that from the trailer, but it sounds like
Yeah.
there's even more to it.
Oh man, yeah. I think it looks like they've really, you know, they found the main thing about the story and translated that well into film. Seems like hope so.
Yeah.
So that's Handling the Undead by Jon Ajvide Lindqvist.
I will have to read that eventually. You said you had other books you wanted to talk about too.
Yes. The first one I read that I wanted to mention was The Healer by Antti Tuomainen. He's a Finnish writer. It's this is a procedural crime story. It follows a man who is desperately looking for his wife, his journalist wife, who has disappeared while investigating a serial killer. And what makes this a horror story is that it is set in apocalyptic Helsinki, the capital of Finland. It is, I mean, the dread that comes from that apocalyptic setting is very well written, I thought. it's all climate change horror, really. So it's basically things have started going really off the rails because of climate change. There are floods. There are thousands of refugees coming from the south of Europe up to the Nordic countries. Rich people in the Nordic countries are fleeing to the northernmost parts of the countries. Societal structures are collapsing. You can't get any help from the police because they're barely holding on. If he has DNA results he needs help with, maybe he'll get an answer in 6 months. Who knows? So that bit of it was really spooky. Like things are really falling apart. So that's a good one. That's The Healer by Antti Tuomainen. I started The Lost Village by Camilla Sten. She's a Swedish writer. It follows a young woman named Alice and a group of people who are scouting ahead of shooting a documentary. They're going to this small mining town, abandoned mining town in the north of Sweden, where people 60 years ago, everyone just disappeared. No one knows what happened. And she has a connection to that place because her grandmother was from there. She left that place before this happened. And then there's a split narrative where you follow the people of the city, of the town, sorry, in the months leading up to this disappearance. And there are also letters from her grandmother as part of her research for the documentary. I'm about halfway through, and it is very good. I highly recommend it. I saw that the prompt for it was um, Blair Witch Project meets Midsummer, and I am feeling both of those things. And
Mm.
yeah, it's very good so far.
I've been meaning to read that because that comp
Yeah.
pulled me in right away. And I forgot to talk to you about this. There's upcoming with Tor Nightfire and Icelandic horror.
Oh yeah, I did see that. The Night Guest.
Yeah, by
Oh,
Hildur Nottsdottir. It looks um really good. I pulled up the Tor Nightfire thing. It says, what is
yeah.
happening when Idun is asleep? Why is she waking up with increasingly disturbing injuries? And why won't anyone believe her? And it's just like a wine glass, and it looks like maybe blood dripping into it.
Oh, that looks
And
interesting. Oh, that's
I
exciting.
love a pink cover. So,
Yes.
ooh, some more Nordic horror on the
Yeah.
horizon. I also meant to read The Resting Place by Camilla Sten too. Just seems like someone to watch.
Yeah. That's the one about um
The person
people
with
like that.
face blindness, like they don't remember.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jon Ajvide Lindquist has a ton of titles. I have
Yeah.
Little Star by him on my shelf, which I started. That is like kind of creepy kid
Yeah.
horror, and then
Yeah.
Harbor, which is like,
Yeah, I heard about that.
and I think he has a short story collection where Oscar and Ellie are featured in one of the stories. So you
Yeah.
kind of see like where they are after the events of the book.
Yes. I think that's the one called, is it Paper Walls? Something like that?
It's a great question.
It is called Paper Walls in
Okay.
Swedish and Norwegian, but I don't know if the translation is the same.
Okay, so here it's translated as Let the Old Dreams Die.
Oh, okay. All right.
Interesting. Why not paper
Yeah.
walls?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know.
All right. Well, are we ready to talk chilling obsessions?
Yes.
Because I want to talk about this.
Yeah. Me too. So, my chilling obsession is without a doubt the new season of True Detective called The Night Country.
Yes. Have you watched other seasons of True Detective?
I watched the first and the third.
Okay.
I couldn't get into the second, but I like both of them. Yeah.
I somehow have not, even though it is 100% something I would love. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's one of those
Yeah.
shows that I just never started, but
Sure, yeah.
um I saw people talking about this and I was like, they all seem like standalone seasons, so I think I can just
Mhm.
jump right into this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I am
Absolutely.
loving it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, I mean, they're all separate stories,
Hmm.
so absolutely you can jump into, either one. Um, but what I really like about Night Country is that I had no idea going in, but this is horror. It leans into horror in a big way. I mean, it's set to Alaska during their days of night, over Christmas, and I mean, you know, of course, because you've seen it, but just for anyone who hasn't watched it, it's a crime, it's a noir crime drama, and uh, it mixes so well with horror and the supernatural. So you follow these two investigators re- um, who investigate the disappearance of 6 or 8 scientists who go missing just like that from the research station in the Arctic. Like no one has any idea. Like their sandwiches are still on the counter,
Yeah.
the TV is still on, playing the same movie over and over again. Like no one has any idea what happened to them. So this is the first episode, and it becomes clear that there is something supernatural. There is something, you know, malevolent happening. Oh, man, it was so good. Did you know going in that it would be that much of a horror thing?
No, I didn't. And yeah, in the first episode, I'm like, this is 30 Days of Night meets Alien meets The
Yeah.
Thing
Yeah. Yeah.
with a
That's
police
perfect.
procedural on top of it.
Yes.
Um, and I know people have been divided on this, but I have really loved the music choices in this.
Yeah. Yes.
Like when they go to the lab or the station where the scientists are staying, the DVD keeps playing the same scene over and
Yeah.
over again, and it's Ferris Bueller, at
Hmm.
the parade. And so just the
Yeah.
juxtaposition of this like
Yes.
eerie, empty scene with this like jovial music and people
Yeah.
dancing just makes
Yeah.
it so creepy. And then yeah,
Very.
you mentioned that it's set at Christmas. And in the second episode, I don't want to give anything away, but there's like a horrifying thing that they
Mm.
discover, and then it just cuts to like the town and the Beach Boys' Little Saint Nick like
Yeah.
playing, and
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just like, it's
Because it's very
funny.
cute. Like, yeah, like all these like colored Christmas lights
Yeah.
everywhere. It's all very festive and cute. But
Hmm.
then
It's
there's
like
this
reminding you, like,
horrible.
oh yeah, this is all happening the week of
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Um, and then the two investigators, one of them is convinced that this is related to a case that's kind of like her white whale. It was the murder of this activist indigenous woman that she was not able to solve. And so getting all those threads together, and then
Mm.
there's this mine in the town that is funding the town. It's the financial lifeblood of the town, but there's also all these activists that are mad about the potential environmental effects and the
Mm.
poisoning the water, and just I
Yeah.
just it getting you there's just so much. It's just getting into all these
Yeah.
things. And
So many layers. I really liked it. And I think, I mean, Jodie Foster for the
yeah.
one is good in everything. But she is really good in this as well. She is looking after, I think it is the daughter of her previous husband.
Hmm.
There's some kind of, he's died. She's looking after her,
Yeah.
or like, issues between the two. She's really good. And also, she didn't have a lot of screen time so far, the 2 episodes that have been dropped, but Fiona Shaw, who
Yeah.
played Harry Potter's aunt in the movies, she is very good.
I get
I'm
really excited when Fiona Shaw's and stuff. She's great.
Yeah.
She was great in Fleabag. Just anytime she shows up,
Yes.
she's
Yeah. She was in Andor as well, the
I
Star
heard
Wars series.
that.
It's very good. Yeah.
Mhm.
So absolutely check out True Detective of the Night Country. It's very, very good.
Well, the second tradition we have on the show is to ask our guests for a final girl song.
Yep, I was thinking about this and I pretty quickly landed on a song just because we're talking about Nordic horror today. I landed on a song by a Norwegian metal band. It is Blodtørst by Kvelertak, which the title of the song means bloodthirst or a thirst for blood. Um, and the name of the band is Chokehold.
Okay.
So already you're kind of, yeah, exactly, yeah. That yeah, it's very good. It gets your blood up. The so what I imagine, like in a or final girl, is that this would be the point in the movie. She has been, hunted by the slasher. She's been terrified. She's been hiding. She's been attacked. Tried to survive, lost friends, whatever. This is a point where she just lets all of society's expectations of what she should be, lets them drop, right? And she just goes berserk on this person who has hurt her, basically. And then you play this song, and I think it's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And don't worry about the fact that they're singing in Norwegian, because I'm Norwegian. I can't understand what they're saying because they're metal band, so that's okay. That's fine. You can get into it anyway.
That's good to know.
Yeah. It's a vibe that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like a vibe for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So where can people find you online?
So I am on Instagram at ambilder, which is AMBILDER. A lot of pictures of books, mostly books, but also, food, stuff that I like, anything. And also I wanted to mention that I am going to the list that I compiled of Nordic horror books with an English translation. I'm going to post that list in my stories highlights on that account. So if anyone's interested in the other books that I found, searching the internet for Nordic horror, you can find it in the story highlights.
Good. I'm sure people will be interested in that. You compiled quite a list. I was like, wow, I did not know there was this
Huge.
much.
I didn't either. Like, I couldn't find like a proper complete list of Nordic horror online. So I searched like so many variations of like words and phrases. But it turned out, just with an English translation, I actually found like 25 titles. And that doesn't include like, though I'm sure there were more, like just
Yeah.
like Jon Ivy, the linguist, has plenty, but I included 2 from him, and But anyway, 25 titles is plenty to start with.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna post that.
All right. Perfect. That'll be a great resource.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come here and talk to me about all things Nordic horror.
Thank you. This was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Books in the Freezer is a bi-weekly podcast. We post episodes every other Tuesday. You can find us on Instagram and Threads and TikTok at Books in the Freezer, or send us an email at booksinthefreezer@gmail.com. Show notes for this episode and all previous episodes will be at booksinthefreezer.com, where you will find links to all of the books mentioned in this episode and a list of the movies mentioned as well. I had a listener reach out and ask that the movies mentioned be included in the show notes, so that will be there along with all the books. If you would like to support the podcast, there are a few ways you can do that. One of them is to become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/booksinthefreezer, where there is a $1, $3, and a $5 level of support. If you go to the show notes, there is also a link to merch and a list of affiliate links. So any of those would be a financial help to the podcast. But if you are looking for a free way to support the show, simply leaving a review on a site like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or even just interacting on Spotify with the Q&A features is helpful. And honestly, sometimes it's just nice to have the feedback. I'm Stephanie. Thank you for listening, and see you next time on Books in the Freezer.